Guys, we're living in a state of emergency. There's an emergency at the southern border and in Chicago, also in Washington, D.C., and there's also an emergency involving blow-up dinosaurs in Portland. If there's a unifying theme to Trump's second term, it's that American cities are under attack, requiring immediate military intervention and the suspension of legal rights. Now, it's hard to not jump to the conclusion that Trump is using the military to invade the far-left cities that he's whined about for years.
These leaders in these local cities, along with Pritzker and Johnson, ignore what's going on, or, sir, they're helping Antifa cover it up.
And as some of you might have heard, ICE is allowed to tear gas cops now, at least in Chicago. And in doing all of this, the Trump administration is building on the playbook of a 20th century political theorist who was also a Nazi. But like a full-on Nazi, not like Nazi adjacent, like a total official card-carrying certified Nazi. So let's talk about what's going on in America, the logic behind all of it, and why the ultimate endgame here isn't just a police state, it's like a full-on white Christian ethno-state. Now, one of Trump's favorite things to do, besides writing cute poems to his friends on their birthdays, is expanding the limits of executive power. Now, he's done this through invoking the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, which is meant to be used in the event of war, invasion, or a predatory incursion by a foreign government, or the events of the movie Independence Day. Now, the three times this act has previously been invoked were during the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. It was not invoked during World War Z. Now, Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act due to an invasion of the country by members of a Venezuelan gang, which is completely comparable to invoking the same act in the wake of the attack on Pearl Harbor, or a full-on war between the United States and the United Kingdom.
He'll save children, but not the British children. He'll save children, but not the British children.
Shout out to the UK Massive, but we won that one. We did. We did. Okay, before we get cooking, I want to thank Henson Shaving for sponsoring this video. Now, my daughter is starting to form her own opinions, which is very cool, but what's not cool is that one of her biggest opinions is that Dada looks bad when he doesn't trim his beard and shave his neck. And I'm about to head out of town for a black tie wedding, and I want to look more like an adult and less like a YouTube guy. So for the first time in years, I used a proper razor from my friends at Henson to shave like a grown-up. I mean, it's really beautiful. Look at this thing. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful object. It's a beautiful object. I love beautiful objects. And I quickly realized how much I've been missing out. Not only is it nice to have an actually clean shaven neck and beard line, but my skin is then way less red and bumpy than it was for my normal routine. And it's not because this thing has some high-tech special features and 11 special blades. No, it's because it's clean and simple with a classic design. It does one thing and it does it really well. So if you're a lazy dude like me who hasn't used a proper razor in years, or you're just sick of the bumps and irritation you're getting with your current routine, I really recommend that you check out Henson razors. They're clean, they're simple, they're well designed, and there's no unnecessary BS here. You can either scan the QR code on the screen or just click the link in the description. And when you use code Michael Burns, you're going to receive 100 blades for free. 100. Thank you so much again to Henson Shaving for sponsoring this video. It's genuinely cool to get to work with a company that makes a thing that I actually want to use and that looks cool, and I think you would like too. So again, check it out. Use code Michael Burns. And now I'm going to talk about stuff that's a little depressing. Now, legal scholars have pointed out that not only does immigration not qualify as a foreign invasion, but that by invoking this act due to immigration, it could imply that we're basically under constant invasion, seeing as there's always some amount of illegal immigration and or drug smuggling going on at the border. Shout out to anyone who ever brought drugs back from spring break. You're a part of the problem. Now, you might be thinking, but Michael, surely this would only be an issue if you were a member of a Venezuelan gang. And I'm a member of a Canadian gang, so I'm good, right? Well, not so much, because the Justice Department is claiming that the AEA makes warrantless searches with no legal reviews permissible. So, sorry. We recently saw this in action in Chicago, when ICE agents swarmed an apartment building in the middle of the night to capture members of the Venezuelan gang, and in the process, just zip-tied some children, harassed and terrified legal residents, and destroyed a bunch of people's apartments. Also, I gotta say, isn't it kind of weird that Texas first sent buses of Venezuelan immigrants to Chicago in the middle of winter, and then Trump brought the Texas National Guard to Chicago because of the Venezuelans that they sent there on the buses from Texas? I don't know if I'm doing conspiracy theory. I don't know if any of this means anything, but it seems like it does, and it seems not good. It seems not good. If you are interpreting that situation as good, let me know how in the comments. The political logic here is pretty simple. The administration says that there is an invasion at the border. There's not. Or that crime is rising at rapid rates in major cities. It's also not. And then they use this to declare a state of emergency. They then use the state of emergency as justification for increased militarization of cities, along with the suspension of human rights. And Trump didn't invent this playbook. Italian philosopher Giorgio Agamben wrote about the George W. Bush administration utilizing this same logic in his book, State of Exception. Now, for Agamben, the state of exception is a political mechanism by which emergencies are used to establish exceptional situations in which the law and democracy are suspended, while making entire classes of humans not just exceptions to human rights, but to the right of being human as such. Agamben writes that modern totalitarianism can be defined as the establishment by means of the state of exception for the physical elimination not only of political adversaries, but of entire categories of citizens who for some reason cannot be integrated into the political system. Now, while the Trump administration's actions in Chicago are publicly aimed at dangerous migrants who aren't legal citizens, similar actions in Portland are aimed at American citizens who are part of Antifa. Now, in this case, the same logic of exception is used to attack those perceived as political enemies. Also, the Antifas wear inflatable animal costumes, which is cute as hell. I would just say in the future, if I was a part of an authoritarian government that was trying to demonize a group of people in a city most famous for the show Portlandia, I probably would not want to demonize people that looked so goddamn cute. So shout out to the protesters in Portland who are cute as hell and having a great time. Agamben explored this logic in the context of the Bush administration's order, which authorized indefinite detention and trial by military commission in the conflict with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and radically erased any legal status of the individual, thus producing a legally unnameable and unclassifiable being. To be clear, that's talking about humans. Now, in doing so, they created an exceptional class of individuals that did not fit into any pre-existing category of humans deserving of basic rights and protections. So these individuals are neither prisoners nor persons accused, but simply detainees. They are the object of a pure de facto rule, of a detention that is indefinite not only in the temporal sense, but in its very nature as well, since it is entirely removed from the law and from judicial oversight. Using Agamben's framing, we could consider Trump to be a type of sovereign ruler, one that is a living law, unconstrained by traditional conceptions of law and legal authority. Trump has said as much when describing how he thinks of his own power, and his Eli Cash, Stephen Miller, accidentally told a CNN reporter that Trump has plenary power, aka absolute authority to do whatever the hell he wants.
Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
And in being a living law with absolute power, Trump basically becomes like a Jesus for people who think that the Pope is too communist. Okay, so remember how at the beginning of this video I talked about how a Nazi who influenced all this? Let's talk about that Nazi now. His name is Carl Schmitt, and he accidentally married a scammer. It's a true story. He married this woman who pretended to be a countess, and she wasn't. And, maybe that makes her a scammer. Maybe it was also a time where shit was hard out there, and if you wanted to marry a real successful and smart Nazi, you had to act like someone who you weren't, to catch the eye of a Nazi. Now, he was a lawyer and a theorist known for developing the concept of political theology, which is the idea that all political concepts actually have an underlying theological basis. He's also the one credited with developing the state of exception as a category of political theory. Now, in Schmitt's conception of the sovereign ruler, the sovereign is the one who both decides that there is an emergency and how to properly respond to that emergency. Meaning that the sovereign both gets to decide that Antifa took over Portland and then send troops to that city to defend it from Antifa, a group that they decided took over the city. Or they can decide that Venezuelan gangs have taken over the city of Chicago and then use ICE and a personal military to invade the city and tear gas cops. Which can we admit that that's kind of funny? It's kind of funny. Can we admit that? Let me know if I can admit that in the comments. Like, is it funny that cops got tear gassed by ICE agents? Let me know in the comments. This video is sponsored by ICE. Now, Schmitt also relies on what he calls the friend-enemy distinction to describe how the sovereign functions in the state of exception. Now, rather than a more liberal conception of citizenship, where we're all ensured some sort of basic human rights, this distinction creates a clear bifurcation between those who are with us and those who are against us, those who are on our side and those who wish to hurt us, those who love America and the immigrants and radical leftist terrorists that seek to destroy it. Under this system, the friend is protected while the enemy is punished, jailed, or deported. The friend is a legal citizen. The enemy is the prisoner at Guantanamo Bay without legal status. The friend is human. The enemy is inhuman. Now, Trump recently published an executive order that outlines characteristics of the enemy. They include anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, race, and gender, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. Let me know your score for how many of those you are below so I can send that to the FBI to come get you. Using this logic, any American citizen who is anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, or extreme on migration, race, and gender is one who is not really an American. As far as I understand it, to be extreme on migration, race, and gender is to think that migrants are people, to think that race exists, and the gender one is if you think there's more than two genders, you're participating in a radical ideology and you're a terrorist or something. And as such, any such person is not really privy to the same human rights guarantees of actual Americans.
Okay. What kind of American are you?
Now, we've witnessed an escalation over the first 9 months of Trump's rebooted presidency, from kidnapping and deporting graduate students critical of Israel, to using a Venezuelan gang as pretense for mass deportations across major cities, to targeting American left-wing protesters as Antifa terrorists, to considering those with critiques of capitalism, or simply those who support alternative gender ideology to be enemies of the nation. Now, understanding this via Schmitt's political theology, Trump and co. are attempting to create a world where only true believers are worthy of salvation, while the rest of us, we are heretics without the same spiritual status, which makes sense of Trump's appeal to the growing Christian nationalist movement. All that said, it's important to note that this is not just a Trump thing. J.D. Vance has spoken and written before about the importance of the work of Carl Schmitt. Vance's Jedi Master and money man, Peter Thiel, is currently giving a series of lectures on the Antichrist in which he relied on Schmitt's work. And a number of right-wing figures are relying on categories from Schmitt's political theology to outline a theocratic future for the West. But in the meantime, it is important to remember that it's not really so bad, right? I mean, like, what's the worst that could happen in this situation? It's not like Trump would find a way to use the state of emergency to subvert or cancel the 2028 presidential election, thus ensuring that he stayed in power, and potentially causing irrevocable harm to America's already collapsing democratic experiment. That probably couldn't happen. Someone tell me that couldn't happen. Someone explain to me how that couldn't happen, please. Now, there's a lot more to say about what's going on right now. If you would like to hear me get into it in a longer video, please do let me know. And do let me know if you have thoughts or comments or questions on this one. A reminder that a majority of this channel is funded by my Patreon, so thank you so much to all my patrons, especially my biggest dogs. If you want to support the channel, there's a link in the description below, along with getting all of the videos early without ads, some extra streams and content. You also get access to my reading group, and just the knowledge that you're helping me and my team make this sort of stuff. And as always, a shout out to my coffee friends at Yes Please and my non-alcoholic beer friends at Years. If you're interested in trying either of these delicious products, there's links in the description. You can get a discount. It's also a nice way to support the channel. But most of all, thank you for watching this and letting this be a thing that I get to keep doing. Special shout out to anyone who came to the live event in San Francisco. earlier this month. That was really cool. That was cool to meet some of you in person. I want to do some more of those. So if you live in a city and would come see me and other people talk about stuff and you would hang out, let me know what city that is. You know, let me know if there's venues you like or people you know, friends that you have, money you have, anything like that. And if you're still watching at this point for any reason, go watch One Battle After Another if you haven't yet. That movie is so good. It's so good. I know there's some people who I think are smart and good who make stuff on this website who don't like the movie. Valid reasons, but I would just say watch it first. Also, don't watch a bunch of YouTube video essays on a movie you haven't seen and then let that predetermine your reading of the film. You know what I mean? Like, go into the film with an open mind and then go watch video essays from people that you like and respect that tell you what they thought of it. But give yourself a chance first. You know, you're smart, you're good, you're good. Hey, look at you, look at us. Just look in each other's eyes for the next minute.